Hey everybody, welcome. This is a workshop called Beyond the Basics, Take Control of Git, or flop it one way or the other. My name is Kim, and this is my co-presenter, Kyle. Before we get started, please take a moment and navigate to the link that the QR code is pointing to. We've also got the URL there at the bottom. Just getting a sense of how the folks in the room feel about using Git. And while you're doing that, we're going to introduce ourselves. So, Kyle.
Hi, I'm Kyle Coberly. I'm a staff software engineer at Urban Sky. I also ran software engineering education programs for Galvanize and Flatiron School, and I do software training.
Yeah, my name is Kim Schlesinger. I'm a learning experience designer at Contentful right now, but I consider myself a tech educator. I've been a developer advocate, have published some courses on LinkedIn Learning. I've been a site reliability engineer and met Kyle working with him at Galvanize. So we're both from Denver, or we both live in Denver now, so welcome if you're not from Colorado. And let's see how people are feeling. All
Excellent.
Right.
I think people are in the right place.
Yeah, so most of you feel moderately confident about using Git for version control when you're working on development projects. Got one or two low confidences, very low, and then we have some high confidence and very high confidence. So yeah, you're in the right room. We developed this for an intermediate audience, and actually, Kyle's more of a Git expert than I am. I was sort of the initial audience where I know how to do a lot of things in Git, but when we get to like something more advanced, I get a little nervous. So this is a hands-on workshop. We hope you brought your laptops. You're going to be playing some games to practice Git commands. And these are the goals, the things that you'll be able to do by the end of the workshop. So the first thing is increasing your confidence in navigating with Git. So jumping between commits using log and reflog. The second goal is refining your workflow. So using resets and checkouts to commit first and then edit later. And finally, to stay up to date, you'll learn how to update your branches by rebasing. So those are sort of the commands we want you to learn, but there's this big conceptual idea that I'm gonna have Kyle explain.
So we're assuming that you know some pretty basic things about Git, and we'll go over those in a second, but presumably you know how to make a commit. For these next these next set of skills that you're going to learn, this is the one big idea that you have to come into this with, and it's a ref. So a ref is a nickname for a commit. And there's a few different things that qualify as a nickname for a commit. So every commit in a repo has a universally unique ID that's based on the content. That's called its hash. So when you want to refer to a commit, you can refer to it by its hash. A branch name is also a ref because a commit has a reference to the commit that came before it, and that has the one before that. And so you can actually make the entire history of a branch just off of that one commit, and that allows us to use those the same way we would in ID. If you've used tags before, like for example, for specific versions, those count too, and there's also a variety of relative references that we can make. So things like the place that I was 2 steps ago, or 2 steps back in this branch's history. All of those are equivalent as far as Git is concerned. So any place that you can use one of them, you can use all of those. And that'll come in handy in the exercises we're going through. But that's really the only big new conceptual idea that you need coming into these exercises. And if you want to go deeper, later this afternoon there's going to be another workshop on Git that's going to go into a little bit more of the nuts and bolts of how this stuff works. We're going to learn some commands.
Yeah. So Kyle and I were prepping this workshop yesterday, and he was asking me like, what's a commit?
Yeah.
And then like, how can you identify a commit? And I didn't know all of these things. So you'll get practice identifying and moving and pulling things from commits using all of those different references. All right, so we've kind of alluded to it, but we have built a set of games for you to play to practice those commands. And since Open Source Summit is in Denver this year and we have Tux on a trek, the theme is let's go hiking. And so the narrative of the games is that maybe you're not from the area, or you're not, you don't frequently go hiking in the mountains, and you just go. And your first hike is an absolute disaster. You don't have the right equipment, you weren't properly planned. So what happens is you're like moving up the mountain, and then sometimes you fall down, and then you move back up and fall down. Eventually you do reach the top, but it's difficult. So that's what's gonna happen first. Then you're gonna go home and you're gonna be like, that was terrible. I would like to be more prepared next time. And the first thing that I'm gonna do is find some hiking boots. And so in the second game, you're gonna identify like the style of hiking boot that you want and choose it. In the third game, you're gonna be planning for a camping trip this time. So you're going to select what kind of shelter do you want for this trip? Do you want a tent? Do you want a bivy sack? Do you want something else? You're gonna pack food for it, and you're also gonna pack specific clothing. And then what happens in 4 and 5? I can't remember.
4 is packing. So you have this pack, and we need to break that up so that everything is where you're expecting it to be. And then the last game, you're going to go on that hike again, a little more prepared this time.
That's right. So, yeah, so the requirements for being able to play these games on your laptop, you want to have a terminal application installed and ready to go, ideally with Git installed. If you don't have that, VS Code's like terminal plugin gives you what you need. So I would recommend downloading VS Code. You want Git installed, and then it looks like we have what we need based on the survey, but you want to have used Git before, even if it's just a few times with commands like ls and cd. So a little bit of Git knowledge is important. All right, prerequisite Git skills. So the things that we're going to be asking you to do without explaining are, I'm not sure you actually init any.
No, it's just cloning, but like the idea of making a repo and like what a repo is, like we're going to assume that you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, we're going to expect that you know how to stage changes and commit them, that you can run git status and git log, that you know how to pull down from GitHub or something like GitHub and push up to it, and then branch and merge. You will get practice with all of these, so if you're still a little shaky, that's okay. We can help you, and a lot of this is built into the game. All right.
So the way these games work, they're all repos, and so you can pull these down locally to your computer, and then each one of them has a new game command, and each one of them has a next command. Those are the only commands that are in there. They're shell commands, so that / is important for getting those to run. But when you're in the folder, you can initialize the game with / new game, and then you'll get different prompts in the game, and so to get to the next step, you'll do / next. And then if you make a mistake or you want to run through it again, you can always run / new game, and that'll take you back to the beginning and you can start over.
Yeah, so every game is structured that way, and you'll be familiar with those commands by the end. I was the first audience, or as the first person who ran these games, and because I was the first person who did it, I have some recommendations for you. So the first thing is that the README in the main branch is going to be your source of truth for the game that you're working through. I cloned the repos and then was working in them, but I also kept the GitHub link open with the README, so I would follow directions there. In some of the games, you will automatically switch branches, and the README may not be updated in that particular branch. So main branch README is where you want to be looking.
I did my best to keep it all synced, but programming's hard. You get it.
I also recommend on your computer you create like a directory where you can clone and download all of these repos. So I called mine Git Workshop, but whatever you like is fine. I also would recommend clone or download all the repos at once. So there's 5 of them. If you do that first thing, then you'll have them all there, and you won't have to do that when you're ready to go on to the next game. And then, yeah, just notice what branch you're working on. Like I said, sometimes you intentionally switch branches. Sometimes the script or the game will switch branches on your behalf. So pay attention to what branch you're on. All right, so we have made a reference for the commands and the concepts that we're covering. So if you want to see that, it's at github.com, Sika Education, hike Git cheat sheet. And I like our command reference because it has the command and it has it in plain language, and then it has the more formal definition. We've also got some definitions of Git concepts there. Kyle, what's Sika Education?
Sika Education is my company. I'm a little sclusy with Urban Sky right now, so I'm not doing a lot with it at the moment. But when I do trainings or when I publish materials, if you see anything out there as Sika Education, that's either me or Kim, but probably me.
Probably you. And all of the game repos are in the Sika Education GitHub org. All right, so I'm going to pass it to Kyle. He's going to demo how to clone, change into, and start the first game. And then we will cut you loose to do the game yourself. If you are someone who's like, this is cool, but I don't want to play the games, you can leave. Like, what's going to happen after this is we're going to give you time to play the games, ask questions, and have discussions. So we will not be offended if now is not the time that you want to play these games. So, Kyle.
Yep. All right, seamless transition. We're just that good. All right, so this first game is called Hike Disaster. So you can go ahead and pull this one down now. Also, as you're doing these, if you have questions that come up or like, hey, this doesn't work. Like I said, we ran through this a few times, but programming is difficult. So if you see something weird, it might actually be my fault. So you can let us know there, you can come grab us, or if there's questions that come up or about why something works a particular way, we'll get a chance to discuss that a little bit also. So you've got a QR code and a link down there.
Yeah, we'll be monitoring questions and comments there. If you find something that's wrong and you feel so inclined, you can open a PR on the repo too.
Absolutely. So So this is the first repo here, just to demonstrate how you do this. You're going to go grab your link, and then make sure the size on this is at least marginally tolerable. All right. And then you're going to git clone. Even on like conference internet, all these are bitsy tiny, so it should go pretty quick. You're going to go into the repo, and then there's instructions on each of the repos, but bottom line, they basically all involve running new game and then running next. So to run new game, /new game, and oh, it got rid of my little prompt. Oops, that's me. So basically, the first one is chutes and ladders. I even actually used the different spacing and stuff for them. So as you're doing this, it's going to expect you to follow the instructions. So moving to a space, your first command is git reset hard. And so there's some instructions in the repo on how that works that you can refer back to. But basically what we're doing is we're saying this branch that I'm on now, I want that to point to this commit instead of whatever commit that it's on right now. So on this one, if I look at my git log, I'm starting on step 0. And just to point out this kind of like ref idea, head, hike, and start and 8540 all mean the same thing. And so if I grab any one of those, that works. So you're just going to be doing git log, and there's also a special tag that I made called list that will show you all of the different commits that are in here. So if I run git log list, I can see all of the different hash IDs for these commits. And so what it's telling me to do is go to space 2. So I'm hiking, I move to space 2, and so I'm going to run git log list. And the only ref that I have available for this is 941B. And that's going to be the same on mine. It's going to be the same on yours and everybody else's. And if I run git reset hard, and then, I'm nervous. What was the, anybody remember it? 914B? 941B, thank you.
And I have a tip here. Open a second tab in your terminal
Legit.
and run git log list there so you don't have to keep running it over and over again.
Absolutely. So yeah, I can have another one of these over here. Also, if you've never, you may or may not have like a pager that scrolls up and down like this in your terminal. If you do, I have some tips on how to use that. J and K go up and down, and Q quits. That's kind of the long and short of it. So, okay, so I went to that 941B commit. Git reset -- hard jumps me over there. It's saying that I am now at 2. And then if I run /next, it's going to tell me to move to space 4. If I don't move to space 4, it's going to bark at me. So, cool. Any quick questions before we cut you loose for a little bit?
Will you go to the slide deck?
Yes.
So now that you've seen the repo and how you're going to be working in your terminal, just a reminder, the README in the main branch is your source of truth. If you have questions or comments, you can go to that QR code. It's the same tool that we started with. We'll be monitoring that. Those won't be on the slide deck itself. And we're going to put on a timer for 20 minutes, cut you loose, and we'll, of course, monitor. If everybody's done sooner than 20 minutes, we'll gather again. But Kyle will, well, yeah, we'll have you demo something or talk through it. So, yeah, please go forth. And if you're someone who's like, I like this, but I actually don't have a lot of fluency with Git or GitHub, come see me and I can set you up on an alternative. So, all right, go.
Off to the races. I'm going to walk around the room a little bit too. So if you see me looking over your shoulder, I'm trying to get a sense of where you're at, what people are struggling with, that kind of stuff. I'm just being Snoopy. Quick note about commit hashes. So depending on how you have your terminal configured, you might have the whole long, I think it's 16-digit thing. You only need the first 4. And those are generally unique enough in most repos to give you, to uniquely identify that commit. If it's not, you might have to do 5. It'll let you know, but you don't have to actually type all 16 of them out. And tab completion works for that too. Yeah, sure. If you knock out game 1 really quick, the repo has links to the next game in each of them. I'm very impressed by everybody who's doing this on their phone. It's mad respect. That feels very much in the spirit of a Linux Foundation kind of thing. All right, we got 7 minutes left on the clock. People are still cranking. Let's keep going. All right, 2-minute warning. Also, those of you who are having trouble on the second game, I fixed an error with that earlier this morning, so of course I had a syntax error. I don't know if you've ever tried to write like bash scripts before, but everything is like, nah, it's the other one. I think I have that one fixed. If you pulled it down, you're going to have to pull it again, because it's also difficult to script a game with Git using Git. And so your history is actually very important, so just clone down a fresh copy of that one. And if I screwed it up again, well, then I'll fix it. That's what we do. All right, so that's the first one. It's also the longest. The other ones are a little bit shorter, but from a brain standpoint, wanted to give you a lot of reps with that command. So the actual relevance of this, and it's something that we kind of come back to a lot in some of these other exercises, is the idea of changing what commit a branch is pointing to. So that's what that git reset hard command does. The command names in Git are often really confusing because we use reset for some other things, and setting a commit to a branch reset hard, there is actually some decent logic behind that beyond the scope of the talk. But the practical use of this is when you do a rollback, this is what you're doing. You're saying I'm at this commit and I want this branch, whether it's main or develop or whatever you pick, I want it to be this one instead. And so it's not specific to rolling back. You could also roll forward, you could roll sideways, but reset hard is our tool for setting what commit a branch is pointing to. And then the history of that branch, what we get with git log, is based on walking backward from that commit's parent is this commit's parent is that, all the way back down to the initial commit. So we're going to do that works with a linear history. But what happens when you don't have old man Coberly giving you git log list with all of the future stuff in it? How can we find other kinds of commits that aren't in our immediate history? Well, that's the next game. But before I get there, I didn't see any questions come in on the thing, but I did see a hand up over there. We're good? What you got? So if you wanted to go back to the very beginning, yes. Is there an easier way than finding that first so question was, if you wanted to go back to the beginning, is there a way other than finding the reference for 100? No, not for this thing. So that's not going to give you, not with git log at least. There are other Git tools that'll let you search all of the commits that you have, but are simple log tools, not so much. But as we'll see in the next one, we have something where if you've seen it before, you've got some shortcuts for getting there. Yeah? I'm still getting syntax error. On the second game? Yeah. All right, we're gonna go through that one together. Other questions on this first one? Going once, going twice. Onward. Okay, so our next game is hike research. So we had this awful hike. We're falling down, we're climbing up. Now we're back down at the mountain. We want to take a look. We go down to REI over on the Platte River. We're looking at some different boot options for next time. And so this is a similar kind of skill, but instead of using the log, we're using the reflog. So the difference between these is that the log is the history of that branch. Every one of us, if we're on a particular commit, we're going to see the exact same log. Reflog is your personal history. So everybody is going to have a different reflog because we've seen different stuff. It's kind of like your browser history or something like that. Now we use the exact same command, but if you've seen something before, your reflog is just going to show you a linear history of that. So I had a syntax error on this one. I thought I got it fixed. I'm sure you guys will tell me, but let's take a look at it together and see what we got. So this hike research, I'm going to clone it down fresh. By going over here, git clone, we go in there, and then I'm going to run new game, and you should see something like this. So these are all different pitches for boots, and so you can run next. And now if I do the log just has this commit and the initial commit. It doesn't have the one that I was just looking at. None of these are in a single branch. But if I run the reflog, I can see everywhere that I've been. And these things on the left, again, are refs. So if I do head or origin barefoot style or DEA 0, all of those mean the same thing. And so you can reset hard to any one of those. And one other one that's really handy in the reflog is these head at. So that's an example of a relative move that we could make. So if I want to go back to this one, you guys saw me do it earlier. 7738, that's kind of hard to remember. Head at 2, a little bit easier. So maybe that command works better for you. And I saw a hand up. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't mean to use HTTPS. It doesn't make a huge difference for this because we're not pushing back and forth a lot. But the SSH option is nice because otherwise you have to authenticate every time you want to push up a change. That sucks. So we can make an SSH key, tie those together, but you have to have the URL in that way. Great question. Can anybody confirm or deny whether or not the change is working? I see a thumbs up. All right. So this one's a little bit quicker. I'm going to start with 7 minutes on the clock. I don't think it's going to take that long, so give it a shot. All right, if you get to the end and it says you decide to go with the blank hiking boots, programming is hard, but where did the lighter fluid come from? So you still got the reps in, but yeah, it's supposed to say the name of the boot, but yeah, we had so the specific issue was if you hadn't already initialized the game and you did next, it like barfed out a bunch of stuff. So it was like, oh yeah, I'll just do a convenience thing real quick, and then I broke my game. But there you go. That's basically what that's about. Questions about the reflog and reset hard and that kind of stuff? Yeah. I'm sorry, what was it? So what that means is that when your head shows up more than one time in the reflog, if you check the hash on those are going to be the same hash ID, because as you're moving around, like if that's going to have that whole history on there, and you might have the same commit in there more than once. Great question. Other questions about the reflog? Yeah. The at nomenclature shows up a few different places, most notably the stash also. So the stash isn't like a part of this specifically, but that's a way to, if you've ever seen like, if you merge this thing in, it's going to create this conflict. Do you want to stash your changes? So it's kind of like a scratch pad area that you can set something aside and put it back without committing it. And that at notation will work for that. So it was like, what was in my scratch pad for this repo 3 times ago? Let me look at that. Let me apply that back to this repo, etc. Great one. Yeah. So question was the tilde notation, which is also one of the relative references we can do. That's going to walk back through your history. It's like it's slightly more complicated that if you have merges in your history, but the caret and the tilde will both walk backwards through commits. So you can have a ref that's like, whatever this was one time ago. And like I do that all the time when I commit something and I was like, nope, never mind. Just rolling back 1, you can do a get reset hard head tilde 1, and that's like whatever this was 1 ago. Over there. Is there a way to clear your reflog? I don't know. I've never done it before. Anybody know? Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a really good one.
So to confirm, get reset hard doesn't actually change anything. It allows you to navigate.
What get reset hard? So the question was, like, does get reset hard like get rid of anything or change it? No, not really. What it does is it's pointing this branch to a different commit. You didn't lose any. You didn't lose that commit that you had before. You didn't lose any of the work that you had in that. And it can be difficult if you, for example, roll back because log isn't going to show the thing that you rolled back from. Your reflog will still have that though. And so like some of the practical examples of when you use this are like restoring broken branches. You get a little bit brave and you start flying fast and loose with like, I'm going to do all this cool Git ninja stuff and I'm going to bisect this and I'm going to rebase this. And you go, I just totally screwed all of this up. The reflog is the first place I look and I just do a hard reset to whatever the last thing that worked was. Good one. Anything else before we move on? Yeah. Yeah.
I destroy my new branch to anything.
Sure.
Log all graph, and then I can still see the log everything.
Wonderful. So, so the point he was making was the reflog doesn't show you anything about the branch structure, and depending on what kind of workflow your team uses, there's some of them where the branch structure is very important. And so an alternative way to do a lot of this is you can do this stuff in a temp branch, and you can mess stuff up and move it around and whatever, and then use something like git reset hard. Like, one of the things that makes Git difficult to learn, and the reason we're having this talk in the first place, is that it's very low-level tools that are exposed to you that also lets you build custom workflows for pretty much anything that you want. And when you kind of get to the end of the rainbow on this and you start looking at how Git is put together, by the time that you get that kind of stuff, like, take a look inside that .git folder sometime. You'll laugh. It's literally just the name of your branch in a file, or like the hash of a particular ID, and like that's how they know what branch you're on. And so all of that low-level stuff is pretty much exposed directly to you, which really adds to the cognitive load, but is also the power of like kind of enabling a lot of different workflows. All right, let's move on. Game 3. So this one is hike plan. This is pulling in changes from other branches. It's not pulling in commits from other branches. That's cherry picking. This is like, I did this experiment and I don't want to like merge in the experiment. It mostly didn't work, but this one file or these 2 folders or some subset of that is valuable and I do want to use it. So this is another one of these kind of overloaded commands, checkout, because we also use that to switch branches. And actually, for that very reason, I've got a note in the repo about, since git checkout was doing so many different things, there's a git switch command that only changes branches, and there's a git restore command that only pulls in new versions of files. You're free to use those too. Those are kind of like the new modern version of this. I still use checkout about 99% of the time, and I think a lot of people are also. So pick your poison on that. One note that I will point out with using checkout, and this was the reason that we got some of that new syntax, is let's say we have a branch name that's food, and you also have a folder that's food. Git doesn't really have a good way to disambiguate between those. So you can do git checkout dash ref, so like git checkout main or git checkout food dash dash, and then the file path. So I'll show you that one real quick, and then this is also a pretty quick one.
I have another very interesting use for these checkout files.
Yeah.
While merging or rebasing a branch,
Yes.
you get conflicts sometimes.
Yes.
In some cases, you know, okay, I want the exact file how it is in one of the 2 branches that you're merging.
Yes.
So I do check out the name of the branch I'm merging and then the file, and I get the exact file as it is.
Love it. So the suggestion there, this is another use case for checking out a file, and like spot on, I do this all the time too. Let's say you're doing something that creates a merge conflict. I even have awesome merge conflict tools. I still don't like them. One of the things you can do is you can use either checkout or restore to just pull in whatever version you actually want from that, and that can be a lot easier than working through conflict markers and stuff. Great. All right, so this third one, hike plan, if I run new game on this, it's going to say, all right, I need to get these files into this branch. So there's a shelter branch. And so if I check that one out, all right, I'm in shelter now. That has a folder called shelter in it. And so if I look at what's in there, I can pick a bivy sack, a camping hammock, a tarp, or a tent. So I'm going to go back to my plan branch, and I'm going to do git checkout, and then mental model for this, checkout from where, and then what am I checking out from there. So I want to check out from the shelter branch the file shelter, and truth be told, I'm a camping hammock guy. So I pull that one in, and now you can see that my branch has updated. And if I run git status, I've got that one in there. So follow the rest of the instructions. That other thing I was mentioning, by the way, is I could have also written that as git checkout shelter dash dash shelter camping hammock. So if it barks at you about like, I can't figure out what you want me to do, you could either do that or you can do git restore, and the syntax on that is from where? Shelter. Well, what do you want? Camping hammock. All of those are the same command. Cool, let's take a couple minutes on that one.
Someone figured out how to clear your, or to reset your Reflog.
Oh, good call. So the way to expire your reflog and clear out your history on that, get reflog expire is the command, and then you're going to give it the flag dash dash expire equals now. And then if you do a dash dash all flag on that also, that'll blow out your whole reflog history. I think some version of the instructions says the clothes branch, and some of them says the clothing branch. There's another helpful thing where like half an hour before the talk, I was like, they're both in there, and I deleted the wrong one. So it is clothing, is that right? The branch is clothing, the folder is clothes, I think. So we were just actually talking about this over here. You may or may not get tab completion working on a branch that you're not on. Super shell dependent, and I think that's also really specific to shell extensions that you're currently using. I am like 99% sure that one comes from OhmyZish's Git plugin. It might also be from Git extras, but Fish might have it out of the box. I don't know. So yeah, super shell dependent. Good one. Awesome. So if you're still working on that, keep working. Otherwise, I'm going to finish it up in the terminal here. So I pulled in shelter. I wanted 2 options from the food branch. So I'm going to check out food. And then I want beef sticks. And you can do more than one in the same command. So I will also check out gorp, good old raisins and peanuts. And then the last one was 2 options from the clothing branch, one of which must be hiking boots. So git check out clothing. And I'll do clothes, hiking boots, and clothes, what else we got? Poncho. Cool, so if I take a look at my, my status now, I have those 5 things. They're already staged when you pull them in. And so I can just commit that, packed my bag. And if I run next again, victory. Questions about any of the things in that exercise? Going once, going twice.
I'm going to interject here.
Yeah, please.
This is Kim. So we're going to review the next game at 12:15. The reason is that at 12:20 we want to do a recap. We want to see if you feel any more confident about your Git skills, and then hear about what you learned and what you can do now, and then set you off on your way. So we probably won't get to game 5, but thanks for sticking with us, and looking forward to see like what your impressions of the workshop were.
Yeah, rock on. Cool, so game 4 is packing. This one is another reset command. Basically what reset fundamentally does is it deletes commits. And, or at least you can kind of think of it that way. So this is one of the ones that I probably use the most in my day-to-day work. And this is what's going to power a workflow where you can throw off commits wild as you want as you're developing, and you're in kind of a creative brain mode without having to also think about how should I structure this, how should the commits be worded, how should my files be grouped together in these. That's really important stuff also, but I find that it's really difficult to do that while I'm also kind of in a like generative, creative sort of mode. And so what I'll do is I'll just fire off the commits like I'm save scumming a video game, just as often as you want. I even have a shortcut called GWIP. That's just GWIP, and all it does is stage everything, commit it, and give it a commit message of WIP for work in progress. And then when I'm done, I do this. So the hike packing exercise, if I start this one, it's going to say the most recent commit in this branch is too big, so I need to split this into 3 different commits. And if you look at your log, because that has the history of your branch, you'll see that the latest commit is called break up this commit. And so I could either do git, so what I want to do, the ref that I'm looking for in that reset command is reset to where. And so I can say I want to reset back to the main commit or the 232B commit or any of those other 2 nicknames for it. I say I want to make the commit that, but you don't actually lose any of the changes. So like if I do git reset main, for example, What you'll see when you run git status is I still have all of the changes that I committed there, but now I can stage them separately, I can commit them separately, I can be more thoughtful and analytical about it. So this is another pretty quick one. Take a couple minutes to work through that one. Build them in the order that it tells you to, and then run that again. Yeah. So the question was, does running reset unstage stuff also? Yes, if you run it like this. There's a third command, so we have git reset hard. That was moving what commit a branch is pointing to. We have this one. If you don't say anything, it's called a mixed reset, and that's going to keep the files as they were, but not commit them. There's also a soft reset that will get rid of the commits, but keep all the files staged. Like I said, it's really low-level tools and workflows. I basically never do soft resets, but mixed reset gets a lot of action for me. Good question. And let me. If you're still working, keep going. I'm going to show you the rest of the exercise. So first commit's supposed to be shelter. So I'm going to add shelter and commit it. So the tense that I'm using for this commit, so that's the conventional Git message style. I learned this trick from Tim Pope, and I do it every single time. It's present imperative, I think, is the actual language name of the tense. But if you just say love to in front of whatever the thing is, you'll end up in the right one. So love to add shelter. So I do that one. Next one I'm supposed to add is clothes. Love to add clothes. And then the last one is food. And if I run next, victory, the much vaunted victory. So again, like the bread and butter like workflow on this for me is I'm just whipping wild and loose while I'm in a creative kind of mode. And then when it's time to actually push something, blow all those out, rebuild the commits thoughtfully, give them good messages. One word of caution on that, this is and this is also the case with reset hard, this is a history-changing command. And so you want to do this on stuff that you're working on, but other people aren't working on. Because if I do all this stuff and I push it up and somebody gets a copy of that and starts working on it, and then I blow out all those commits and force push that up, now we have a really gnarly problem because we have to sync all of those things. But when you're working on something on your own, or like doing a kind of back and forth PR workflow, I do stuff like this all day long. Questions about any of that? All right, Kim, can I spend 4 minutes starting the next game? Yeah. TY. All right, so the last game, Hike Redux. We are going to use all these skills that we have to get back up the mountain a little bit better this time. So you're joining a hiking group on this one, and you're a scout because you have the gear and you have the experience at this point. So the group is going to go up, and then you're going to split out and try to find shortcuts. And when you find enough shortcuts, you're going to meet back with the group. You're going to get synced up, and then you're going to go off and scout again. And so this is mirroring the workflow of I branch off from like a main trunk branch or something. Everybody else keeps working. And I might want to pull in those changes so that I'm working off of what everybody else has, but I might not be ready to merge my stuff in yet. And I think that the thing that a lot of people sort of instinctively do on this is they merge the trunk branch in, and like you can do that, but it creates a lot of complications, including like your history gets a lot more complicated. It's a lot easier to have conflicts, especially if you have a bunch of commits and there's something that conflicts with the first one. It's going to replay that conflict on every successive commit. So it's a lot safer to rebase first. And so rebasing is the idea of, what if I had branched off at this point instead? So we branch off, everybody keeps going, and you go, okay, what if I had done all of the exact same things, but I branched right now instead of 2 days ago or whatever? So that looks like this. Start the game. I'm going to switch to so I'm in the group branch right now. I'm going to switch to the scout branch. You can do git switch or git checkout. And I'm going to run next. So the group went to position 11, and I found 5 positions worth of shortcuts. And so I want to keep climbing. All right, they're at 15. I got 13 positions of shortcuts. All right, and as soon as you get at least 20 positions worth of shortcuts, it's going to go, all right, cool. Now you need to come back to the group. Let's get a little bit synced up. And there's 3 different steps to this. And these are the exact 3 steps that like you would do if you were rebasing and then merging back into the main branch. So I want to pretend that I branched off at this point because we both kept going. I want to make it so that like I just branched off right now. And so if I rebase with the group branch, that changed my history. That brought in all the progress that they've made. And then if I switch over to the group branch, so I've met up with them, I want to merge that change in now. So if I try to do that without rebasing, pretty good chance I'm going to have conflicts, and a definite chance that now I have a merge commit. And merge commit is having 2 parents, makes your history a lot harder to navigate. So I'm back on the group branch. I'm going to merge. my scout branch in, and now you see it says at the bottom fast forward. That's called a fast forward merge. So if we didn't go in two totally different directions, I had some changes, and they can just add these changes without having to reconcile anything. It's basically just like we're taking the kind of tilted branch and straightening it out. That's called a fast forward merge, and it gives you a nice clean linear history. Cool, and I think that probably takes us to 12:15. This one is not as long as the first one either, but it is a little bit longer than the other three. You can keep working on that, but I'm going to pass back over to my compatriot Kim. Oh, okay. All right, awesome. Let's take 5 minutes to work on this. I love it. Two-minute warning. All right, those are our games. So we would really love to know what some of your takeaways were from this. So Kim, lead the way.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, thanks for sticking with us and working really hard. We appreciate it. Let me clear out of this. So please go back to the poll everywhere, and there should be a question that is, actually let me know, is it what's one thing you can do as a result of this workshop? I don't think I changed it correctly. Poll everywhere is a sensitive beast. Okay, I will, let me change that. I have to do it on my computer.
Sensitive Beast was my nickname in high school.
I was wondering if you were going to make my name in high school joke in this workshop. Okay, it should now say, you should see a question, what is one thing you know and can do as a result of this workshop? So we want to know, like, do you have a skill or do you have knowledge now that you didn't have at the beginning of the workshop? But while you're doing that, we're going to recap what we learned. So Kyle, why don't you take us away on this?
So we learned how to go back and forth in a linear history. So roll back, roll forward, roll around with get reset hard. And we also learned how to do that with nonlinear history. So that was our log. So that's the history of whatever branch you're in, and also the reflog, which is like your personal history of things that you've seen. And again, that like mental model for that, log is going to be the same for everybody. Reflog is specific to you and where you've been. We also learned how to combine elements of different commits with git checkout, so we can combine stuff, and we can also split it apart with git reset, mixed resets, where we're getting rid of the commit, but we're not really getting rid of any of the file changes. And then in this last exercise, we were incorporating changes from different parts of the project. So when you branch off and that branch updates, you can change time and make it like you made your changes then also.
All right, I updated these slideshows, so I'm just refreshing. All right, so those are the things that you can now do with the git commands that you've either learned for the first time or reviewed and practiced. And we just want to go back and talk about the big conceptual idea that we're hoping that you walk away with. So what is a commit?
So a commit can be identified by a bunch of different stuff. Every commit has a globally unique ID that we get from just jamming all the content together and your name and the date and all that kind of stuff. But we also have these nicknames that we can use. So it's either a branch name, where like the branch doesn't actually describe the part that's different. The branch is just whatever that last commit is. You can also tag commits, and this is really helpful for stuff like versions. It's also helpful for like personal tags, like this was the last time that I saw this work. And then we also have a variety of relative commands that we can use that are usually a little bit easier than like typing out a hash ID. And any place that you can use one of those, you can use any of those.
We all learned how to clear your reflog. Thank you to everyone was anonymous in the poll everywhere, but whoever sent us this command, thank you very much. And I'm going to switch back to my computer so we can look at what you learned today. All right. Should get more, okay, this is gonna go a little slowly, but okay, so the question is, what is one thing you know now or one thing you can do now after participating in the workshop that you weren't able to do before you came? So definitely seeing some themes here. So reflog usage and use reflog. I can use reflog more effectively. So let's see if I can get this right. So reflog is a list of the commits that you have interacted with. So
Yes.
it's not the actual like full commit history, but where I've been.
Yes.
Okay, and that's handy to be like, wait, where was I?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. I vaguely understand rebase now.
Love it.
Learn to roll forward and roll backward in Git. How do you roll forward and roll backward in Git?
Well, who can tell me? Shout it out. Rolling forward and backward in a branch. Reset hard.
What would happen if I forgot the hard flag and I just did git reset and then the commit?
So if you do that, that's going to look for whatever shared ancestor there is between the commit that you had, and it's going to get rid of all of the commits in between, but keep the changes. So that was our mixed reset that we did when we were rebuilding commits.
Let's see what else we got. We got lots of good stuff. Thank you. More Reflog. Additionally, I gained more clarity about what a commit is and how to use Reflog. Ooh, mixed resets. This one's good. I had used hard before, but using git reset was alone worth the whole talk. I used the work in progress WIP commit strategy and had previously been using temp branches and checkouts. Doing the mixed reset will save me lots of time.
Yes.
Whoever you are, congratulations.
Making my teacher heart happy.
Feel more comfortable with rebase and pulling in files from other branches. Kyle, tell us about a time when you've pulled in files from other branches at work recently.
I have an issue right now where there are changes in the repo that I don't want to use, but everybody else does. Like it just makes my startup time quicker if I'm not also starting those Docker containers. So I actually have a branch that has like a different version of my Docker Compose file with like those services out, and I'll just check that out every once in a while when I want to like speed up the Docker startup.
Okay, this is my favorite comment. I no longer have to furtively copy my changes and re-clone when I mess up my local repo. My coworkers can never know. Yeah,
Indeed.
you don't have to RMRF your repo if you mess something up. Hopefully you've got some more skills for that. All right, so I want to just show you, these are the responses to how you felt your confidence level using Git at the beginning of the workshop. I'm going to clear these responses and invite you to respond again. And hopefully we get more folks in moderate, high, and very high, but you don't have to, you can tell the truth. If you still feel kind of low confidence, that's okay too. Still got a low confidence, no problem, very low. Got 50% of you, 46 now, are moderately confident, high confidence. I would say in prepping for this workshop, I went from kind of like moderate confidence to high moderate confidence. No one here is very high confidence. Do you consider yourself very high confidence in using Git?
Yeah, but like that didn't gradually happen, and it probably won't for you either. It's an all at once, like, my God, it's full of stars moment, where all of these things and like some of the more advanced commands, which I'll point you to in a sec, when the mental model for how this actually works, like this was made in a weekend. Like this wasn't like a lifelong project.
You mean Git was made in a weekend?
Yeah, like the Linux team lost their source control license, and they're like, all right, well, we got to work on this, and so they just bashed this together as quick as they could, and changed software development a second time in the process. And when you look around the guts of it, like you see that legacy in there. And so once that like final mental model sort of clicks for how all this is actually working, you will let out a hearty laugh, and then all of the like last advanced commands will not feel very scary at all.
Cool. All right, so we mentioned this before, but in this room at 2:10, the next talk in this room is Billy and Eddie's Declassified Git Survival Guide. It's not a workshop, but they're going to be covering a lot more like disaster recovery scenarios with Git. And I know Eddie, he's great, so highly recommend. I'll be here. And Kyle, any final words before we say our thank yous?
Yeah, so the stuff that comes next from this, there's a lot of other tools that are built into Git. For example, I recently needed to find where something broke, something that was sometime in the last 2 weeks. So there's a tool called Bisect that will just go like, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? And you just thumbs up and thumbs down, and it tells you where that commit is. Also, like poking around in that Git folder and getting a mental model for the 3 trees. Sounds like a fantasy novel kind of thing, but the 3 trees model is like probably the first step on your road to really grokking how all of this actually works. And I would also point you to, I mentioned stashing earlier. Stashing is pretty cool. And we didn't do any collaborative kinds of things. So merge conflict resolution, that's usually the one that like gets people to kind of break out in a cold sweat. That doesn't need to be the case. There's a lot of strategies for how you can see a merge conflict and just go, of course, and fix it and move on with your life.
Cool, well, thanks so much. My name's Kim Schlesinger. This is Kyle Coberly. Follow us or connect with us on LinkedIn. Come say hi. And thank you so much for attending our workshop.
Cheers.